I buried my husband in the Nevada desert that summer. His body wrapped in the same bedsheets we'd argued over for the last time. No priest. No eulogy, just me. A shovel. And the kind of silence that screams louder than any confession. 15 years I'd carried the weight of his family's sins on my back, paying their mortgages, their college tuitions, their alibis, all while they painted me as the gold-digging outsider who ruined their golden boy. But tonight, as I watched Evelyn's empire crumble from the shadows, I realized revenge isn't a fire that warms you, it's a bomb that leaves everyone scarred, including the hand that lights the fuse. The desert wind howled like a betrayed lover as I patted down the last of the red dirt over Jake's shallow grave. It was 2010, and the recession had already gutted Las Vegas like a slot machine spitting out losers. Jake, my husband of 8 years, the charming con artist who'd swept me off my feet in a Reno casino, had finally played his last hand. Overdose. They called it back in the city, but we both knew it was suicide by bad decisions. He'd begged me to help him disappear one last time, whispering about debts to the wrong people, about how his mother's connections in Atlantic City had dried up. Evelyn, his mom, the queen of small-time schemes, always had a way of turning family loyalty into leverage. I'd covered for her before, falsified tax returns, laundered just enough through my graphic design freelance gigs to keep their Jersey Shore McMansion from foreclosure. But this, burying him, that was the line I swore I'd never cross. Yet here I was, Serenity Hayes, the quiet girl from Reno who'd married into dysfunction, elbow deep in felony. I drove back to our cramped apartment off the strip, the AC blasting against the July heat that clung to my skin like guilt. My hands still smelled of earth and betrayal. Jake's phone buzzed on the passenger seat. Evelyn. Of course. Where's my boy? He missed the flight. I let it go to voicemail, then deleted the app entirely. For the first time in years, I felt the coil in my chest unwind. No more wire transfers to Evelyn's emergency fund. No more excuses for why I was always broke while they summered in the Hamptons on my dime. Jake had confessed it all during one of his benders last month, how Evelyn had orchestrated his first big score, a pyramid scheme targeting elderly retirees in Florida, and how I'd unwittingly funneled the cleanup costs through my savings. You're the only one who sees me. He'd slurred, his breath like cheap bourbon. The family's poison, but you're the antidote. Lies. I'd been their scapegoat from day one. That night, I packed a single duffel, my laptop, Jake's dog-eared copy of The Great Gatsby, ironic, given our lives, and every receipt I'd squirreled away since 1995. 15 years of quiet sabotage, documented in ink and pixels. Evelyn thought I was the mousy artist type, too buried in Photoshop to notice her games. She'd flip between doting mother-in-law and ice queen manipulator, cooing over my talents, one call while demanding another loan the next. Jake's sister, Lila, was no better, partying through Parsons on my nickel, then ghosting me when the checks bounced. But the real secret? The one that gnawed at me like acid? It wasn't just money. It was the accident. Back in '98, right after Jake and I eloped in that kitschy Elvis chapel, we'd driven cross-country to meet the family in Atlantic City. Evelyn's welcome dinner was a setup, her latest hustle, roping us into vouching for a rigged poker tournament. Jake, high on adrenaline and coke, crashed the rental car into a guardrail on the Garden State Parkway. A family of 4 in the other lane, tourists from Ohio, walked away with scratches. But Jake, he panicked, called Evelyn. She swooped in with her fixer, A shady lawyer named Harlan who'd owed her since some 80s real estate scam. They pinned it on me, the new wife, the out-of-towner with no ties. I took the DUI, the suspended license, the community service, all to keep Jake's record clean for his promising career in sales. Evelyn promised payback. We'll make it right, sweetie. Family first. Instead, they made me their mule. For 15 years, I paid not just bills, but the silence. Every court fee, every hush money to that Ohio family who could have sued us into oblivion. I left Vegas at dawn, heading east on I-15, the horizon bleeding pink like a fresh wound. My plan crystallized somewhere outside St. George, expose them, piece by piece, until Evelyn choked on her own venom.
No guns.
No dramatics, just the truth. Weaponized. I'd start small. Anonymous tips to the IRS about her offshore accounts. Leaks to the local rag about Lila's art gallery fronts.
But the bomb?
That would be the accident file, the police report I'd bribed a clerk for last year. Stamped with my forged confession. They'd buried it deep. But I had the shovel. By the time I hit Philly 3 days later, I'd reinvented myself. Serenity Voss now. Freelance consultant for boutique ad firms. Crashing on a cousin's couch in Fishtown. The neighborhood was gritty. Alive with murals and dive bars. A far cry from the sterile suburbs Evelyn lorded over. I dove into research. My nights blurring into screens of public records and dark web forums. Evelyn's empire was a house of cards, shell companies in Delaware. Charity, events that funneled cash to her poker buddies. Jake's death? She'd already spun it to the tabloids as a tragic loss to addiction, painting me the enabler. Poor Evelyn. Losing her only son to that Vegas harlot. I screenshotted it all, building a digital dossier that could topple a senator. First strike came easy. A burner email to the Atlantic City Beacon. Evelyn Hargrove's philanthropy. Exposed. Attached, redacted ledgers showing kickbacks from the tournament Jake died chasing. The story dropped a week later. Front page. Casino queen or con artist. Local matriarch's empire under scrutiny. Evelyn called my old number, voicemail. Of course. Serenity? What the hell is this? Come home. We can fix it. Family sticks together. Her voice cracked on that last word. A rare fissure in the armor. I played it on loop while sipping black coffee in a corner booth at Johnny Brenda's. The indie rock thumping like my pulse. Lila was next. Her Soho gallery, Lila Lux, was a laundering front for Evelyn's art forgeries, Picasso sketches that were about as real as her maternal love. I posed as a collector from Brooklyn. All honeyed emails and vague interest. Met her at a vernissage in Chelsea. Air-kissing amid the champagne flutes and trust fund whispers. Serenity? God. It's been ages. You look grounded. Her laugh was a tinkling bell, but her eyes darted like a cornered fox. We toured the collection, my phone's camera discreetly capturing the certificates, fakes, every one. That night, I forwarded it to ArtNet's tip line. The fallout was swift. Raids. Headlines in the New York Times. Heiress's high art or high crime? Evelyn flipped then.
Hard.
A certified letter arrived at my cousin's. Leave my daughter out of this. You vengeful bitch. Jake would have hated you for this. Attached was a check for $50,000, for old time's sake. I tore it up on video, mailing the shreds back with a post-it. Interest compounds. But doubt crept in. Slimy and insistent. Was I any better? Jake's ghost haunted my dreams. His pleas echoing. Don't let them break you.
Hang.
Had I broken first? The Ohio family. I'd trace them to Cleveland. A quiet life rebuilt on insurance payouts I'd indirectly funded. Exposing Evelyn would drag them back into the light. Reopen wounds. Polarizing.
Yeah.
But revenge doesn't ask permission. Summer bled into fall. Leaves turning in Fairmount Park like warnings ignored. My strikes escalated. Whistleblower status with the SEC on Evelyn stocks. Planted stories in Vanity Fair about her toxic legacy. She lawyered up, Harlan. That weasel, suing me for defamation. Discovery? That's when I dropped the bomb. My affidavit. Filed pro SE from a Kinko's fax machine. I took the fall for Evelyn Hargrove's son in 1998. Enclosed, original police report. My coerced statement. Witness affidavits from the Parkway tow truck driver who'd seen it all. The hearing was in federal court. Newark, a gray slab of justice amid the turnpike sprawl. Evelyn arrived in pearls and Chanel. Lila trailing like a wilted shadow. She spotted me in the back row, her face twisting from shock to fury. You, she hissed during recess, Harlan tugging her arm. After everything I did for you, I met her gaze, steady as the gavel. Everything I did. Evelyn. 15 years.
Corning.
The judge, a no-nonsense Italian from Bayonne, read the file in chambers, emerging with rulings that echoed like thunder. Case dismissed. Hargrove Enterprises frozen, pending investigation. Reporters swarmed the steps. Flashbulbs popping like gunfire. Evelyn shoved past, but not before whispering, "This isn't over. Serenity." Blood's thicker than your ink. Lila vomited into a trash can. Her art world, imploding live on CNN. I should have felt triumph, that electric rush of vindication. Instead, nausea hit as I drove south on 95, the skyline shrinking in my rearview. The twist? Harlan called that night. Voice oily over payphone line. Evelyn's offering a deal. Full confession, hers. Not yours. Walk away clean. I laughed. Bitter as diner pie. But he wasn't done. Jake didn't OD. Serenity. She made him. Pushed too hard on that last score. Said it was mercy. The line went dead. Mercy? From the woman who'd sacrificed her own son to save face? Winter gripped the mid-Atlantic like a grudge. Snow blanketing D.C., where I'd holed up in a Georgetown walk-up. Consulting gigs drying up under the scandal's glare. Evelyn's flip was masterful. Public mea culpa on 60 Minutes. Tears glistening under studio lights. I failed my family. Serenity. She was the glue. I see that now. Offers poured in, book deals. TED Talks on redemption. Lila rehabbed in Malibu. Emerging as a survivor advocate.
Me?
The villain who wouldn't forgive. Forums lit up. Team Evelyn. She's human. Versus. Serenity's a saint. Let her burn. But the real bomb detonated in spring. As cherry blossoms choked the tidal basin. Anonymous package. Evelyn's diary. Pages brittle with age. Entries from 98. Jake's mistake. Can't let it touch me. Serenity's perfect. No roots. No fight. Pay her off slow. Keep her hooked. Then,
2010, he's gone.
my fault? No, her fault for enabling. But the desert. Loose ends. She'd known. Tracked us. Sent Harlan to clean up, but too late. And the kicker? Inked fresh last year. Serenity's rising. Time to pull the pin. Lila's clean. Let her take the fall if needed. I confronted her at the shore house. The one I'd mortgaged my soul to save. Boardwalk ghosts wandered outside. Funnel cake scent clashing with salt air. Evelyn answered the door in silk, martini in hand, classic deflection. Come to gloat.
No.
I slid the diary across the granite island. Her color drained, lips parting like a fish on the line. How? Truth has a way. Evelyn. Like karma with a receipt. She crumpled, sliding to the floor, sobs ragged. For a moment, pity flickered, the broken matriarch. Empire in ruins. But then she looked up, eyes hardening. You think you're clean? That accident? I saved you too. Jake would have dragged you down. I gave you purpose.
Lies.
Laced with half-truths. She'd schemed. Yes. But in her warped lens, it was love fierce, devouring. The decision hung there, controversial as a jury deadlock. Call the cops? Watch her rot in white-collar hell?
Or.
Mercy? I chose the gray, leaked the diary to ProPublica, but redacted Jake's end. Let the world debate, villain or victim. As sirens wailed distant, I walked out into the surf's roar, free but fractured. Revenge? It hit her like a bomb.
All right.
But the shrapnel? That's what lingers, tearing at us all. The fallout rippled like a stone skipped across the Delaware, each concentric circle dragging more skeletons to the surface. By June, Evelyn's confession tour had morphed into a full-blown media circus. Her face plastered on Dateline specials and true crime podcasts that dissected our saga like a frog in bio class. The mother-in-law from hell or heartbroken heroine, the cheer and screamed, polarizing America faster than a Supreme Court leak. I tuned it out from my new perch, a converted loft in Baltimore's Fells Point, where crab cakes and craft IPAs dulled the edges of insomnia. Consulting dried up entirely. Clients whispered about that drama queen from the Hargrove mess. Fine by me. I'd banked enough from freelance peaks to coast, plus the irony of Evelyn's hush money check I'd cashed before shredding the duplicate. Poetic justice. Served with Old Bay. But freedom's a fickle bitch. Lila resurfaced unannounced, pounding on my door one muggy afternoon, her designer tote slung like a shield.
Ain, serenity.
We need to talk. She looked wrecked, hollow cheeks, roots showing in that signature ash blonde. No Soho swagger here, just a sister-in-law grasping for grace. I let her in, brewing chamomile to buy time. The loft smelled of turpentine and takeout lo mein. My half-finished canvas mocking us from the easel, a desert grave under stormy skies. Abstract enough to dodge lawsuits. She paced the exposed brick, words tumbling like dice.
Moms. Different now.
The diary, that was private. Therapy fodder. I snorted, handing her the mug. Private? Like using me as your family's ATM for a decade? Lila winced, perching on the thrift store sectional. It wasn't like that. She thought she was protecting us.
Jake. He was the weak link.
Always borrowing. Always promising. Weak link? My laugh echoed cold. Jake had been her crutch. The brother who'd bailed her out of DUIs and bad boyfriends. All while I footed the therapy bills. And you? The art forgeries, those masterpieces you hawked to clueless collectors. My tuition money built that gallery. Her eyes welled. But no tears fell, Evelyn Steele. Forged in her. I was 22.
Lost.
Mom said it was networking. By the time I saw the rot, she trailed off, fingering the mug's chipped rim. Then, the flip, accusation sharp as a switchblade. You buried him, didn't you? Harlan found the site. GPS pings from your burner phone. That's accessory.
Ain.
Felony. My stomach dropped. The room tilting like a bad Vegas spin.
How?
I'd scrubbed everything, tore browsers. Cash for the shovel. But Evelyn's reach? Tentacles in every shadow. I did what he asked. I said finally. Voice steady as rebar. To spare you all another scandal. You, with your Survivor brand. Her, with her redemption arc. Lila leaned in, breath minty with desperation. Then help us bury this. One last favor. Mom's got cancer, pancreatic. Stage 4. The feds are circling if they dig up Jake.
Cancer.
The word landed like fallout. Controversial in its timing. Real or ruse? Evelyn, queen of the long con, timing her demise for sympathy votes? I searched Lila's face, cracks of sincerity amid the guile. Why tell me? Because you're the only one who can end it clean. She slid a flash drive across the coffee table. Files on Harlan's offshore slush fund. Evelyn's retirement nest egg.
Take it.
Blow the whistle wide. But redact the desert. We go down for the money.
Not.
That. The offer hung, polarizing my gut. Mercy for monsters? Or complicity in their escape hatch? I pocketed the drive, nodding once. 48 hours. Then it drops. She hugged me goodbye, awkward. Fleeting, like family we'd never been. That night, I cracked the drive in a VPN bunker. Lines of code scrolling like indictments. It was damning. Wire transfers to Cayman shells, labeled Family Legacy. One entry chilled, a $200,000 payout to the Ohio family. Post-accident, with my name forged as sender. Evelyn's gift? Or insurance against my silence? I cross-referenced with my dossier. Matched the exact amount I'd scraped from my 401k in '99, back when Jake swore it was one time. Rage boiled fresh, but tempered by Lila's plea.
Cancer doesn't con.
I spent the next day wandering Inner Harbor, tourists oblivious amid the seagulls and schooners. Baltimore's scars mirrored mine, resilient,
Raw.
reborn in rowhouse pride. A street preacher railed about forgiveness, his megaphone crackling over the harbor breeze. Turn the other cheek, or burn in the fire. Polarizing theology, straight out of Evelyn's playbook, sin and salvation, doled out on her terms. By dusk, decision crystallized, partial drop. The money trail to the Baltimore Sun, with a nod to ProPublica. The desert? Buried deeper. With Jake. The story broke Monday. A doubleheader. Hargrove heiress's hidden hoard, and feds freeze matriarch's assets amid health scare. Evelyn's camp spun it masterfully, press release decrying persecution of a dying woman. Hashtags erupted. Justice for Evelyn versus Serenity Speaks. I ghosted a NPR interview, letting the echo chamber do the work. But the flip came swift. Harlan, subpoenaed, rolled over like a gutless hound. Testified in a closed hearing that Evelyn had encouraged Jake's habits, dosing his drinks to keep him pliable. Control, he called it. She called it love. Lila called that night. Voice shattered. It's out. Mom's in hospice, real this time. She wants to see you. Trap or truce. The drive to Atlantic City was a blur of beach traffic and brackish doubt. My old Subaru rattling like bones. The hospice smelled of antiseptic and regret. Fluorescent hum underscoring the beeps of monitors. Evelyn lay propped in a recliner, for drip snaking like accusation. Her once sharp features softened by morphine haze. Lila hovered, eyes red-rimmed. Serenity. Her whisper rasped, hand extending frail.
Veined.
I took it, pulse faint under my thumb. You came.
No bloat.
Just the weight of years. She gestured to the window, boardwalk lights flickering distant. Remember our first dinner? You in that sundress. Jake beaming. I thought. She's too good for him. A cough racked her. Lila adjusting pillows with mechanical care. I was wrong. Pushed too hard. Wanted him strong.
Like me.
Ended up breaking everyone. Confession or con. Her eyes, cloudy but cunning, held mine. The money yours. All of it. Lila's wiring it tomorrow. Clean slate. I searched for the lie, but found only surrender. And the accident?
She sighed.
Deflating. My idea. Harlan drafted the script. You signed because you loved him. More than we ever did. Polarizing truth, her villainy born of a mother's terror. My complicity forged in naive devotion. Why now? Time's up.
And you.
You're the reckoning I deserved. She squeezed my hand, then released.
Go. Live.
Without us. I left as dawn broke, the sun gilding the casinos like fool's gold. Mercy granted, but the scar? It itched. Summer's end brought uneasy quiet. The feds indicted Harlan. Lila cooperated for immunity, testifying to the forgeries in exchange for probation. Evelyn slipped away in September. Obituary in the press of Atlantic City framing her as philanthropist felled by illness. No mention of me. The ghost in the machine. I sold the loft. Relocated to Asheville's Blue Ridge shadows, where craft breweries and hiking trails promised reinvention. My canvas evolved, not graves, but rebirths, sunrises over mountains, abstracts of release. But twists, like bad debts.
Compound.
October postcard from Lila. Mom left you the shore house. Key enclosed. No strings. The deed transfer followed. Notarized clean. Inheritance or insult. I drove up for Thanksgiving, solo. Turkey thawing in a cooler. The McMansion loomed. Waves crashing judgment. Inside, dust motes dancing in slant light. Jake's old surfboard propped in the hall. And on the kitchen island, a letter. Evelyn's scrawl. Serenity, you paid for our sins. Body and soul. This place, you're due. But burn it if it haunts. Forgiveness isn't absolution. It's the bomb you choose not to detonate.
Love.
Despite it all. I stood there. Surf roaring. Debating the match. Polarizing end. Keep the chain. Or sever it. The world watched. Waiting for my flip. Ash's autumn painted the Appalachians in fire. Crimson maples clashing with evergreens like unresolved grudges. I settled into a cedar A-frame on the outskirts. The kind of spot where locals nod over morning coffee at French broad roasters, and weekends mean bluegrass jams at Jack of the Wood. No more city grind. I pivoted to digital nomad life, illustrating ebooks for indie authors, ghost stories. Mostly, fitting the irony. The shore house key burned a hole in my junk drawer. Evelyn's letter folded beside it like a dare. Burn it, sell it, or claim the spoils of war. Debate forums still pinged my alias, Serenity's silence, victory or vendetta, polarizing me into a reluctant icon. My face blurred on Reddit threads dissecting the Hargrove reckoning. Lila visited in November. Uninvited but not unwelcome, arriving in a rented Jeep. Arms laden with Jersey bagels and artisanal jams. Her probation chic, a far cry from Soho silk. Peace offering, she grinned, unloading on my porch as wood smoke curled from the chimney. We hiked the Pisgah trails that afternoon, boots crunching leaves, the air crisp with pine and possibility. She talked art, real stuff now. Community murals in Newark, while I sketched trail markers on my tablet. Therapy's brutal, she admitted over a streamside lunch of PB and JS. Mom's shadow everywhere.
But you.
You cut the cord.
How?
I shrugged, tossing a pebble into the current. One snip at a time. Starts with admitting you're not the villain in your own story. Her laugh was genuine, unlaced with scheme. Or the hero. That's the twist. Right? We're all just surviving. Polarizing wisdom from the former forger. By dusk, over IPAs at my place, she broached the elephant, the house. Mom meant it as amends. But if it's poison, I pulled the letter, reading aloud by firelight. Lila's eyes misted. She loved fierce. Wrong ways, but real. We burned a copy in the hearth, cathartic flames licking the words, saving the original for whatever came next. Winter hunkered in, snow blanketing the ridges like fresh starts. I finally tackled the shore deed, listing it with a realtor who specialized in legacy properties. Offers trickled, developers eyeing condos, nostalgic retirees. But the high bid came from an Ohio couple middle-aged, unassuming, touring with a realtor's glossy packet. We read about the history, the wife said over closing coffee at a boardwalk cafe, her husband nodding solemnly. Heard it was complicated. But beaches heal. Ohio. The accidents echo. I signed over the keys without flourish, pocketing the check, enough for a studio expansion, a rainy day fund untethered to Hargrove ghosts. Heal well, I told them, watching their taillights fade into the dusk. Spring thawed the debate online. My silence spun as Grace Under Fire, podcasters pivoting to Serenity's Serenity. Invites flooded, Oprah reboots. The view panels on family betrayal in the American dream. I declined, opting for a low-key TEDx in Charlotte, the cost of carrying, when loyalty becomes load. The stage lights warmed, audience a sea of nodding millennials and skeptical boomers. I wove the tale sans names, the buried husband, the scheming kin, the bomb of truth. Revenge polarizes because it's personal, I said, slides flickering receipts like evidence. No one's all right or all wrong. We're just human. Fumbling in the fallout. Q&A erupted. Was it worth it? Forgiveness or forget? I left them arguing in the lobby. My mic drop a quiet exit to the parking garage. But Evelyn's legacy lingered. Insidious as kudzu. Harlan's trial in June, federal courthouse in Philly. Sweltering under AC vents drew me like a moth. I slipped in back row anonymous, watching the weasel sweat under cross-exam. MS. Hargrove directed the cover-up. He bleated, voice cracking on projections of ledgers. Serenity Voss was collateral, loyal, unwitting. The prosecutor, a bulldog from South Philly, hammered. And the son's death? Encouraged? Harlan folded, detailing Evelyn's mercy push, lace drinks, whispered ultimatums. She said it was kinder than prison. Gasps rippled. I gripped the bench, nails biting palm. Polarizing revelation. Suicide as assisted. Love as lethal injection. Lila testified next, composed in a navy sheath. Her words measured. Mom was flawed, manipulative.
Yes.
But she built us from nothing. Single mom in 80s Jersey. Clawing from diner shifts to boardwalk queen. Sympathy murmurs. The judge sustained objections. But the seed planted.
Me?
Subpoenaed as key witness. I took the stand in jeans and blouse. Voice steady as oath. I paid, literally, for their secrets. 15 years of bills. Blame. Burial. The DA probed gentle. Regrets. I paused. Gallery hushed. Only that I waited so long. No tears, just truth. Dropping like spent casings. Verdict. Harlan. 10 years. Evelyn's estate fined millions. Assets seized for victims. Ohio family chief among them. Lila walked free. Her immunity a bitter pill. She called post-trial. Voice thick. Saw you on the feed. Brave. I demurred. Brewing tea as thunder rumbled the ridges. Closure's a myth. But this? It's enough. We hung up planning a hike, tentative bridge over the chasm. Summer solstice brought the twist-eyed half-dreaded, half-craved. A manila envelope. No return. DNA results. Stamped confidential.
Zenda?
But the lab traced to Cleveland. Inside, paternity match. 99.8%. Jake wasn't Evelyn's biological, adopted post her husband's disappearance in 75. A union bust gone mobside. The note. Typed crisp. She buried more than debts. Your husband? Leverage from day one. Knew the truth. Used it to control. From one ghost to another.
OF.
Ohio family. The wife's brother? The hit driver's kin? Layers peeled back. Evelyn's empire built on a bigger con. Jake the unwitting pawn in her origin sin. Rage surged, then ebbed to numb. Polarizing bomb. Expose the adoption fraud. Topple Lila's legacy? Or let sleeping skeletons lie. Honoring my mercy pact? I drove to the shore, sold. But memories lingered in the salt air. Stood on the beach where Jake proposed. Waves erasing footprints. Called Lila at midnight. Her groggy hello cracking open. One more secret. I spilled it all.
Voice raw over the line.
Silence stretched. Then her sob. God.
She.
We were her empire. Built on sand.
No flip.
Just fracture. Shared. For once. We met in neutral ground, a DC. Diner off the Beltway. Formica tables sticky with history. Lila arrived hollow-eyed. Folder in hand. Her own digs. Evelyn's adoption papers. Forged as the DNA. New since therapy. She confessed last week, said it was survival. Husband crossed the wrong union. She fled with him. Claimed him as hers. Polarizing maternal myth. Protector or predator. We burned the folder in a Potomac Park fire pit. Sparks rising like released grudges. What now? She asked. Embers dying.
Now?
We live. Unburdened. Fall circled back. Leaves carpeting my drives to town. The TEDx clip went viral. Spawning a memoir deal I almost trashed, carried, a woman's reckoning with family's weight. Ghostwriter calls. Outlines sketched. Lila contributed a foreword to the sister I didn't deserve. Controversial coda, but earned. The world still debated, podcasts pitting Evelyn's evil against Serenity's softness, but I tuned to bluegrass. Canvas calling. Yet the final flip lurked in December's chill. Package from Cleveland, The Ohio family's thanks, check for reparations, modest but meaningful. Note: your truth freed us too. No more shadows. I donated half to a Jersey women's shelter. Kept the rest for a trip west, Reno. To visit Jake's marker, official now. Stone etched proper. Stood there as snow flurried, whispering. We both got out. Mercy. After all, not absolution, but the space to breathe. New Year's dawned crisp in Asheville. Fireworks popping over the Biltmore like distant gunfire, reminders that resolutions are just reloads. The memoir dropped in March, climbing NYT lists on whispers of the ultimate family feud. Tours beckoned, signings in indie bookstores from Powell's to Strand, fans queuing with dog-eared copies and questions sharper than switchblades. Did you ever doubt? A barista in Portland asked, tattooed arms hugging my book. Every day, I admitted, signing with a flourish. Doubt's the price of depth. Polarizing reviews rolled in. The Atlantic hailed it an unflinching American tragedy, while Fox News op-ed, vindictive victimhood, when cancel culture hits home.
I left over bourbon av Thailand.
The burn chasing the bite. Lila and I forged a fragile rhythm, monthly Zooms devolving to quarterly brunches. Her Newark murals bleeding into my illustrations for a joint charity print. From shadows to strength. Controversial collab. Sure, ex-felon and ex-enabler, but sales-funded art therapy for domestic survivors, turning poison to purpose. She dated a potter. Soft-spoken type. I flirted with a trail guide. All flannel and easy grins.
No rings.
No rushes. Lessons learned in the long con of love. Spring unearthed the last layer. Innocuous as a utility bill. Email from the realtor. Shore house buyers, tragedy. Fire last winter, total loss. Insurance pending, but. Arson suspected. My pulse spiked. Forwarding to Lila. We drove up together. The husk blackened against the dunes. Yellow tape fluttering like surrender flags. Fire marshal met us at the lot. Notepad crisp. Accelerant, gasoline. Beach torch style.
No prints.
But witness saw a woman. Silver hair. Limping away. Evelyn, dead months prior. Ghost? Or her echo. Harlan's girlfriend. A nurse with grudges. Out on bail and bitter. We walked the perimeter. Ash crunching underfoot. The ocean indifferent. Mom would have loved this, Lila murmured. Kicking charred timber. Dramatic exit. I nodded. The irony twisting. Her gift, reduced to rubble. Mirroring our bonds. No arrests followed, leads cold as the tide. But the closure? In the letting go. We scattered Jake's ashes there. Belated ritual, vial from my duffel. Wind whipping gray motes to sea. To loose ends, I toasted with a flask of Rebel Yell. Lila echoed. Arm linking mine, sisters by scar. Not blood. Summer simmered with normalcy's veneer. Memoir sequel offers tempted, carried to. The reckoning continues. I demurred. Channeling energy into a gallery show. Buried truths, abstracts of deserts and diaries. Deserts and deluges. Opening night in Asheville's River Arts District buzzed. Locals in Carhartt. Collectors from Charlotte. Lila flying in with her Potter bow. Toasts clinked amid the strobes. A reviewer from Garden and Gun cornered me. Inspiring or infuriating. Your mercy lets monsters off. Polarizing as ever. Mercy's not for them, I countered. Sipping Pinot. It's for me. Keeps the bomb from blowing back. Fall brought the debate full circle. Dateline special. Empire of Lies, the Serenity Voss story.
They wanted an interview, me.
Center stage. Flipping the narrative one last time. I agreed. On terms, no glamour shots. Just raw talk in my A-frame. Fire crackling. Correspondent probed gentle. Regret the revenge? Camera tight on my face. I waited. Revenge was the spark. But the real fire?
Truth.
It burned us all. But we grew from the ash. Airing Drew spikes, Serenity final word trending. Forums fracturing anew. She's healed, hero. Versus. Too soft, lock 'em up. Winter's solstice eve. Lila and I reconvened at the shore scar, now a vacant lot. Wild grasses claiming the black. We built a bonfire. Legal permit fluttering. Roasting marshmallows on sticks whittled from driftwood. To flips, she said. Gooey bite midway. The ones that break you and remake. I clinked my skewer. Stars pricking the velvet sky. And the bombs we dodge. Laughter mingled with wave crash. Easy as exhales long held. The end? No tidy bow.
Nos vilains vanquistes sans shrapnel.
Evelyn's ghost lingers in ledgers balanced. Houses haunted by what-ifs. Jake's in the wind.
Free.
Lila and I, allies in the ambiguous. Debating over brunches, what comes next.
Me.
Canvas calling louder than casings. And the world, still arguing my mercy, my might, because that's America, land of the free, home of the fiercely flawed. Revenge hit like a bomb.
Yeah.
But in the crater, fertile ground, if you dare to plant. As the fire died to embers, I scattered the last of Evelyn's letter, ashes to ashes, amends to wind. No regrets. Just the vast, unpolarized dark ahead, ready for whatever dawn breaks.